Right now, we're joined by Angie Moreschi, our national investigative correspondent with Spotlight on America. Thank you so much for being with us. We know you have really been diving into the issue for us on the slow rollout of opioid funds in West Virginia. And we know here in the state that we have been impacted greatly by the opioid epidemic. But how bad is the situation here right now?
West Virginia is such a small state, but it's really had the biggest impact nationwide when it comes to overdose deaths, 3 times the national average. And what makes that even worse is that it's really not getting any better. Nationwide, the CDC reported last year there was actually a slight dip in the overdose rate nationwide by about 3%, but the West Virginia State Legislature reported a 2% tick up in overdose deaths in your state. That was about 1,500 people last year alone. So the concept of these dollars coming into your community to potentially help is very strong. And I want to make clear, you know, it's not just West Virginia. There are other states also that have been slow to get these dollars into their communities. Among those are like Ohio, Missouri, Montana, and especially Hawaii is one of the bigger ones as well. But in West Virginia, there is such a great need. So grassroots organizations in particular are worried and saying that state leaders are not meeting the urgency that this crisis needs.
And given that urgency, why is it taking so long to get these funds out the door?
Well, you know, that's a good question. Each and every state with this opioid settlement agreement has come up with its own way to distribute funds. And West Virginia is unique. It created a private nonprofit foundation, the West Virginia First Foundation, to distribute those funds. And as part of that process, it decided to elect publicly leaders from 6 different regions of the state to represent the grassroots communities there, because they really wanted this to be a community-driven effort, which is important to have the input of people from all over the state. But that whole process has taken a long time to set up the board and establish the whole program and then elect leaders for it. And then on top of that, there was the initial person who was named as the executive director ended up stepping aside. So the whole process to find a new person took a while. Finally, in the spring of this year, the Attorney General ended up appointing the executive director. His name is Jonathan Board. That may be familiar to you. He was running for the state Senate, stepped aside from the state Senate to take over the helm of the West Virginia First Foundation. And I had the opportunity to sit down and interview him, and he admits, he acknowledges they are late to the game, but says he is stepping up his efforts now to get those dollars out the door as soon as possible.
And speaking of that, what are they doing to get that money out the door? I know we've heard some different things about when people could start to see those dollars.
Well, Jonathan Board says he has been working very closely with the West Virginia First Board to try and move the money more quickly. He is proposing a one-time effort that's expedited and streamlined to get those dollars out the door in areas of desperate need. He says they want to triage funds to areas of desperate need, and then as they move along, develop a more robust process for the evaluation as they move forward. So that's essentially what he's done. He made that pitch to the board. They actually approved it at the beginning of September. So they are right now accepting grant proposals for about $19 million that will be going out to the 6 regions across the state. I believe it's $800,000 to each region. And there are several areas of need that they've identified. Youth prevention, law enforcement diversion programs, child advocacy and parenting programs, things along those lines to help the communities that are dealing with the fallout from substance use disorder. And as they start to get those monies out the door, he says that, you know, it will help the community right now, areas of service. If you are a small organization or if you are a large organization, they want to hear from all of you and try to get some of those dollars into the community to start making a difference.
Now, you mentioned that immediate rollout. Is there a long-term process set up to get money out, or is that still in the works?
No, they still need to develop the long-term process, and he says that is indeed still a work in the process. So right now, they're very much focused on getting dollars out immediately to some of the organizations that can try to make a difference on the overdose deaths that they're seeing in the community still every day. Someone passing away, loved ones who aren't making it through the substance use disorder. Recovery housing in particular is an area that he would like to see some of those dollars going towards. But that evaluation process and determining what the rubric will be to figure out who should get the money, that's still in development right now, and he says they will be moving on that moving forward. There has been concern about these private foundations, that they aren't subject to the same public records as a state agency would be, but he has committed, he said, to public transparency on how they are deciding where the funds go, how much people get. So that transparency issue is one that we will be following very closely, and I know your community will be following closely as well, because really the only way to measure whether this money is making a difference in the community is to know where it's going and then to evaluate whether those programs are working long term. So we'll have to wait and see on that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Angie, for joining us, and thank you for your work on this.
Thanks for watching. Here's another video from Eyewitness News. And click here to subscribe to our channel to get the latest.